Phil, I just wanted to let you know that we can see you on the Zoom, and we will begin the meeting momentarily. We're waiting for one more member.
Right.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
do four. I'll
That'd be
explain.
unanimous,
Yeah.
And we can explain, I can explain that if you'd like.
Okay.
To the guy, to the
Right.
applicant.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting, the regular Thursday, October 12th, 2023 meeting of the Webster Groves November meeting of the Board of Adjustment.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, this agenda you gave me is for last month.
Oh, sorry.
But as excuse me, let me start over. I'd like to call to order the November 9th, 2023 regular meeting of the City of Webster Groves Board of Adjustment
Yep.
to order. Tom, would you please call the roll?
I will. Chuck Yankee,
Here.
Andrew Pottist,
Here.
Debbie Sahlberg.
Here,
I'm Tom Walsh and I'm here and we're waiting for BJ Papello.
we have one petition tonight and and this will be the order of presentation. The city staff will present testimony regarding the facts of the request. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present their request to the board and address questions, followed by anyone who's in favor of the opposition of the application, and then anyone who is opposed to the application. Then the board will close public session and open for board discussion and decision. The proceedings are recorded. We will vote on this application tonight, and approval will take 4 out of 5 board members' approval. As you noticed in the, when we called the roll, there's only 4 of us here now. That means if the 5th member does not show up, you would need 4 out of 5, all 4 of us to vote for approval. If the 5th member does not arrive, and after discussion, you'd like to hold your request for a month, you can, but hopefully that won't be necessary. Tom, would you please read the powers of the board?
Powers of variations. When by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property as of September 20, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this zoning code would result in a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to or exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal related to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
Thank you. Would you please read docket 2402 into the record?
The Board of Adjustment will review the request of a variance. Wait a minute.
Why don't you just, can you read the screen, Tom?
Let me read this. A petition submitted by Suzanne Perez Hickman on behalf of Scott Perez for an application for variance from section 53.073 C.2 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 2.15 feet from the minimum required 5-foot west side yard setback in order to enclose an open porch on the existing structure that will be located 2.85 feet from the west side lot line of the subject property. The property is located at 517 Sunnyside Avenue within the A4 7,500 square foot residential district.
Thank you. Mr. Bontrager?
So before we begin, the city would like to be included in the record for the purposes of this hearing, the exhibits 1 through 9 listed there, and which includes the PowerPoint, which will be presented.
Thank you.
The city would call, excuse me, the city would call Mara Perry to testify.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Mara Perry.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 517 Sunnyside Avenue?
Yes, I am.
It's not bolded. Is that within the city limits?
Yes, it is.
In which zoning district is it located?
It's in the A4 7,500 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2402?
The applicant is requesting a variance of 2.15 feet from the minimum required 5-foot west side yard setback in order to enclose an open porch on the existing structure that will be located 2.85 feet from the west side lot line at the subject property.
Which municipal code sections apply to this request?
So the code section that applies is 53.073C2. It is the side yard setback established as the minimum side yard setback shall be established in the following manner. Residential structures existing as of September 20th, 1956, which are closer to the side property line than 6 feet, may be enlarged provided any addition is no closer to the side property line than 10% of the lot width at the front yard setback.
What, can you describe the existing conditions of the property?
Yes, so this particular property has a house on it that was built in 1920. That particular house was built only 2.85 feet from the side property line. We don't have an exact timeline of when the addition essentially on the side of the house was built. But that particular house and then the addition that is on the western side was built within only 2.85 feet from the property line with a single car attached garage, an open porch above that garage, and then an enclosed room above that. And this area that was built, it was built in such a way that it appears architecturally, they made the open porch with the walls built as if it was going to be able to be enclosed at some point in the future. You can see in this photograph here, the front elevation of the house. The green line is the approximate location of a 5-foot setback. The 2.85 is the edge of the existing wall. They do not intend to go any further out. They simply want to put windows into that open porch in order to be able to use that space as enclosed interior space as part of the existing house. Here's some additional photos that you can see of different sides of the house, but that space has pretty large openings. And the way that our code reads, structural alterations include enclosing something that was unenclosed, putting in new windows, screens, glass into a space that had formerly been unenclosed.
Can you explain the variances requested?
Yes, so that variance is to obtain a variance of 2.15 feet in order to allow the enclosure of that space that would be only 2.85 feet from the side property line.
Do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add.
I have a question, Mark. So the garage is existing and it looks like there's living space, like up on the second floor above this area. So
Correct.
so the house is already established as a structure at the location within the setback.
That is correct. So essentially, I'll get the arrow over here. They're going to put windows into this space right here. They will go before the Architectural Review Board for those windows. And then if I go to the next, you can see along the side of the house, there's some other areas where windows would be installed to just enclose that space.
Okay, does anyone, any other board members have any questions for Ms. Perry?
Mara, you said, this is Chuck, Mara, you said the building was built in 1920
Correct.
and then the addition was added on later.
It appears
Some
the addition
point.
was added on later. I did not get into the details of finding, I can sometimes through St. Louis County aerials pin down when additions were from the aerial photograph. I didn't get much more into that. We knew that it had been added prior to the code,
Okay. Prior to the code.
prior to the current zoning code,
Okay.
because there were no variances on file for this particular addition.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You had stated to me before the meeting that this quote porch really has finished walls so it's not,
Yes.
all I'm trying to point out is it's not a typical porch.
You are correct. It is not a typical porch. The overall space of that porch has was designed in such a way that it appears that by simply putting the windows, it will already have the finished walls with insulation in the other areas around where the windows are.
Excuse me, I want to point out for anyone who's observing this meeting that Mr. Papillo, the fifth board member, has arrived now.
Excuse me, I apologize.
No,
So what I might do is just briefly go back through these last couple slides just to make it clear on what the request is.
Sure.
So the applicant is requesting a variance of 2.15 feet from the minimum required 5-foot west side setback in order to enclose an open porch on the existing structure that will be located only 2.85 feet from the west side lot line. The house was built in 1920. This identifies if they had to build to meet the current codes, they'd have to build to meet the green line, but the house is already existing at the red line, which is at 2.85 feet from the side property line. And this, I think, makes it even clearer. The existing house is already at 2.85 feet. It has a basement level garage, and it has enclosed space on the second floor. The problem is that the first floor space is currently open without windows, glass, or screens. And in order to enclose it, that's a structural alteration, which is why they're before the board to obtain a variance.
Thank you.
who's here tonight for docket 2402?
So I am going to move Mr. Heckman over as a panelist so that he will be able to speak and
Okay.
be sworn in.
Okay. He's still muted. Is that you or him?
He'll have to unmute himself.
Mr. Heckman, could you unmute yourself?
I can also try. I did just
Okay.
unmute him.
All right. Mr. Heckman, would you please state your name and raise your right hand?
Yes, ma'am. Phil Heckman.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please present your case to us or add to what Ms. Perry's already said.
I don't think I really have that much to add. I've been married to my wife and with her for 25 years, and the house has been the way it is. I don't believe the garage and everything were added at a later date, but again, I don't know that. But it sure seems to have been there a long time. And
How long have you owned the house?
her parents bought it in 1963.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So they simply want to enclose it for additional living space, as the second floor is.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Heckman?
Well, quick one. What do you use the space above on the second floor for? It's obviously a garage on the ground floor and
Right. It was there was 12 children raised there, so a lot of times they slept out there.
okay, it is being used as livable space.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. But no one's been there for 5 years.
Thank
But
you.
yes, sir.
Can I ask you, how did this jump from 313,000 to 403,000 in the appraised value?
Excuse me, that's a question for the assessor who's not
That's not.
on part of the call.
Wow,
Um,
I didn't know if they gave a reason.
And I wasn't
It's in the back.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Heckman? Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we ask if there's any other speakers, which I'm pretty sure there's not?
There's no other speakers.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm okay. Things.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mara, do we have anyone who's in favor of docket 2402?
We do not.
Do we have anyone who's in opposition to docket 2402?
We do not.
Thank you. If we don't have any more questions for the petitioner or Mara, we'll move into executive session. Could I have a motion regarding
So moved.
and a second?
Sec-
All right. Well, I think that this is certainly the hardship is the location of the house. and the fact that they have, structural space both below and above the floor that they want to
Yeah,
add the
it's
windows
already-
on.
It's already finished space above,
Right.
and- well,
Yeah,
below is a garage.
well, that's a finished space.
Yes.
Well, I would add that it's, gotta be an undue hardship to inherit a house
Yeah.
that's already over the line.
Yes, agree.
The placement of the house.
Pre-existing conditions.
Anyone else want to make any comments before we call for the question? All in favor of docket 2402, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, excuse me. All opposed, the same sign? Would you please poll the board?
BJ Papello,
Aye.
Andrew Pottas,
Aye.
Chuck Yankee,
Aye.
Deb Salzberg,
Aye.
and I'm Tom Walsh, and I vote aye.
Your variance has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours about your next steps. Thank you very much. Do we have is there any more business before the board?
I have no other business.
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Third,
Uh,
fourth.
Aye.